Hi everybody and welcome to the Flute Practice. Today we're going to look at a very common problem among many flute players, which is looking at tight embouchures and how we can learn to relax them and loosen them up. So let's go check it out. The first thing that, kind of clear sign that your embouchure might be too tight is that your sound is very kind of sharp, high. You often are, maybe in band or in orchestra or whatever, you're often accused of playing really sharp. The sound might also be quite thin and airy. So let me just see if I can get the sound going. So you get something like, look at yourself in a mirror and see if there's a lot of this kind of thing happening. If your teacher taught you to smile when you start playing, you almost definitely, unless you're like very lucky, you probably definitely have got a very tight embouchure. The other indicators that you might have a very tight embouchure, maybe your cheeks get tired or your cheeks get sore even, which is like big, warning bells, warning lights, flashlights. Anyway, sore cheeks, not a good idea. There are some simple tips and tricks that you can do to kind of start discovering what your embouchure should be and can be when it's nice and loose and relaxed. The first thing I would really recommend is that you just completely let go of your embouchure and play what I like to refer to as the kind of like stupid flute. So really just playing a G. Yeah, it looks stupid and it sounds horrible, but this is just about completely letting go and seeing that you can kind of still get a sound out, even though, it's not great, it's not nice, but it's there. So once you've really experimented with this, you can now start adding in little bits of tension. So the first kind of go-to thing when you start the completely letting go is your cheeks tend to want to puff out. So you tend to get this. So your first step is to not let your cheeks puff out. So your first step is to kind of keep your cheeks in place. Once your cheeks are in place, we can now start to work with refining this a little bit. So you want to introduce just a little bit of kind of tension. I wouldn't say tension, a little bit of pull here maybe. And you want to increase this tension slowly, bit by bit. So to the very extreme where you're maybe at or maybe you're not at, go past what, the tension point that you're usually at, and then completely relax again. So now you're really just playing around with different levels of tension. Maybe you're lucky and there's a point while doing that where suddenly the sound pops and it's like, wow, that's an amazing sound. In which case that is probably your ideal point of kind of tension for your normal, natural kind of basic sound. A nice little way to think about this is not to so much think of kind of relaxing everything, but to think instead of out this way, we're going to think a bit more forward. I always joke with my students to say it's like, kissing flute, or for the like teenage girls, it's like pouting flute. You think of pouting or kissing more forward. Get your flute in position and you can really imagine you are actually pouting or kissing. So really, sometimes I think it looks a little bit like Donald Duck. So get your pout going, and obviously like this we can't really make much of a sound. Sorry, I sound ridiculous, but like this we can't make much of a sound. But from there we relax it back. So we let the lip kind of fold over and then relax it back. But really just getting this feeling of being more forward. And once again, you're not going to get the nicest sound out like this. This is about playing around with what you're used to, the feeling that you're used to, the sensation that you're used to in your embouchure. But just to give you another angle on this pouting business, basically what we're going to do, so you just get you from the side, pout into the flute, and now you are going to allow these muscles to just pull your lips slightly, but not like this. So we really want What's really great to do once you've kind of done this for a bit is to now start to work with using the p. I've got some other videos where I talk about the p and we work with the t, p. What is it? T, p, h. Here you just really want to work with the p. And once again, the p, we are working with these muscles here, with the concentration of this front bit rather than here. And as you can see, it's much more forward than being back here and going. It's more kissy kissy. I'm giving you guys so many kisses right now. It's a little bit inappropriate, but it really does work. So basically, we're going to get our pot going like that. And then what we're going to do is we're not going to use the word toe, we're going to use just the p. So you're going to just keep your lips closed like this. And you're going to allow the air to just separate your lips with a p. So. And once again, if you are kind of wanting to do this, let it all go to pout, forward. A slightly more unusual way of getting the feeling of being more forward with the lips is to do whistle tones. Now this is something that I personally only practiced when, you know, I had a finger injury and I couldn't play for 3 months, but really great idea to practice. Also really great for pianissimo playing and very soft tones. It really gets the control here going beautifully, but it has an added benefit of actually getting our lips to really become a little bit more forward. Become forward, it's not even a thing. So you can just do it on a high G fingering, so thumb off, getting a high G going. And the idea is to almost get your embouchure into the shape of whistling. Not exactly, so you're not completely like that, but you're thinking of kind of, once again, kissing again, but bunching it more forward. And you're going to have a lot of support, so you're really going to support a lot, but the air speed is going to be very slow. So let's see if I can get this going. I'm not even sure if those are audible, but it's basically just the moment before you make a sound. You heard in between there, I sort of made a little bit of a sound. It's just before that. So it feels like I'm getting ready to play a very big note, and then I'm holding all of that air back and just letting very slow air come through my lips. This is very kind of intuitive to what we usually do on the flute. But if you do it and you get it, and I practiced this for so long and I thought like, oh, I'm kind of doing it, and suddenly that whistle comes out and you're like, wow, oh my word, that's what it's supposed to be. So patience with yourself and play around with this. Have, you know, fun experimenting. I think at the end of every practice day you should have like a block where you're just messing around and trying stuff out and experimenting, having some fun. So add whistle tones to that block. This will really help to bring that embouchure nicely forward. Absolute classic embouchure relaxing exercise for me is note bending. This is a really amazing way to also increase your flexibility of your embouchure and just get all of that going. I have done a bit of note bending in a previous video, but let's kind of get back to it and do it again. So we're going to do it, I don't know, G is my note of choice today, so we're going to stick with the G. I tend to like G's a lot. It's just, you know, it's a nice middle note. We're going to go note bend down, and I think the note bending down for you is going to be more valuable because you already are so tight, so you need to learn to relax. So what we're going to do, just as a quick recap, we're going to relax the embouchure, we're going to drop the jaw, we're going to roll in slightly, and we're going to think airstream down into the flute, really down. And the kind of mistake I think people tend to make with the note bending is not to allow the upper lip to follow the bottom lip down, so to really follow that airstream down. I think we kind of let it all go and then the air just kind of blows out somewhere, but we've got to let that upper lip follow everything with it. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but give it a try. So we're going to note bend really down. So we're like, you know, you can get down almost a semitone. It's pretty cool. And now we're going to go up. Going up is really the opposite. So bring the jaw forward, making this, yes, a little bit more tense, but not too much. So don't overdo it. Don't go to your smile. We don't want smiling. I mean, you're supposed to be happy, but no smiling. Bringing this forward, and actually thinking with the lips a little bit forward again. So thinking everything forward rather than thinking this. And rolling out. So I'm going to show you this from the side, just to give you an idea of this forward movement rather than just this. And then we're going to end off with just a nice medium middle note that, nice centered, somewhere in between sound. For you, this, if you're playing with a tight embouchure, this should feel more relaxed than usual. It should feel a little bit more like the note bending down. I'm over exaggerating it right now just to give you that feeling, but this really... Some people also talk a little bit more about kind of thinking rather like a sad clown, or thinking like a bit more of a sad face. When you see my embouchure, my natural embouchure, it is a little bit more kind of relaxed down. Of course, this does change, and this is why flexibility is so important, which is why the note bending exercise is so important, because there are going to be times where we need to be a little bit more tightier. I don't like that word. Have a little bit more kind of, what's a nice word? Muscle support. Something else that might work for some of you is to think about really the direction of the air, and your upper lips roll in that direction. So what you can imagine is that the air is being guided down by the upper lip, straight down into the flute. And really allow for this. Once again, it is going to be more forward feeling, and we're allowing the upper lip to guide really like that. But obviously we need the lower lip on the flute, so I'm really letting that upper lip blow that air straight down into the flute. This might also get you away from being here, because when we're like this, it's almost impossible to really let that upper lip guide that air down. The next important thing to think about is also throat tension, and any tension in the back of the throat. I'm not going to go into great detail with this, but I'm going to just, guide you to one of my videos where I talk about singing and playing as well. Same video where I talk about note bending, so maybe it's just a great one to go check out, which will really help to free up this area. Also, just think a little bit about how much tension you're holding in your jaw. If you're kind of like really biting down in your jaw, even if this is fine, but if you're holding a lot of tension here, or you're holding here, that's also really going to affect your ability to be flexible with your embouchure, and to create the sound that you want. So there's kind of a quick fix to kind of getting the feeling out of all of this. Relaxing here, relaxing your throat, relaxing. It doesn't work for everybody, and it does require a certain amount of kind of being able to switch your brain off and just really use your imagination. But for some of you it might really work, and I'm curious to hear for who it does work. So what you're going to do is you're going to imagine, close your eyes, and you're going to imagine that there is like a massive concert hall behind you, the biggest concert hall that you've ever been into. If it's, I don't know, a really great concert hall like Musikverein in Vienna, or Carnegie Hall in New York, if you're lucky enough to be in one of those halls, great. Maybe it's a smaller hall, maybe it's just your school hall or university hall, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but there's a big space behind you, and you're going to play a note, whatever note this might be. Maybe you want to choose like a nice high note on the flute, and you're going to imagine this note is going to fill this entire space behind you. But you really need to hold onto the space and imagine the space, and imagine that note that is about to fill this entire space. And then what you need to do is you need to switch your brain off. Not think about how or why or when. I know you're probably thinking about that now because I've said don't think about it. But don't. Imagine it clearly, hear the note and the sound you want, and then just play. And see what happens. And maybe it sounds horrible, and maybe it sounds great. Try this a few times if it doesn't work immediately. And let me know how this goes. Because for me, this was like, wow. I didn't even realize that I could make a sound like that, and suddenly I did it. The imagination is incredibly powerful. Sometimes it can literally just kind of force your body to do all the right things without you even thinking about it. So when you clearly imagine what it is that you want, and you have it very clearly in your mind, your body just kind of jumps to do whatever it needs to do to make that a reality. I feel like there's a really deep life lesson in all of that. Well, you can think about that. Okay, so there are probably tons of different tips and tricks you can try out there. Get your hands on as many as you can. I think you're really gonna, feel the rewards of relaxing your embouchure and relaxing all of this and finding the sound that you want, and that really kind of makes you excited, where you, oh my word, that's how I want to play the flute. So, try it all out. Be patient though. Please, realize that you've been probably playing with a tight embouchure for longer, much longer than you've even tried to relax it, and it just takes time to undo the bad habit. But if you're dedicated and if you're committed to it, I really believe that you can do it. So good luck and happy practicing, everyone. See you next time.